Hi, everybody. We are theoretically live on Facebook Live, and this is a little conversation we're going to have, Roland Denzel and I, about a 30-day author process to help you right here just in advance of National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo, or Nano for the kids in the know. So first up, Roland, well, first thing, let's introduce ourselves. We did this last time, and that's when things went south.
Well, that's just because that's when they realized that they couldn't hear me.
Right, and or me at first. So we got 4 viewers. Cool. I have to figure out a way for us to see questions. So I'm going to work on that. While I work on that, why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. So I am Roland Denzel. I'm an author primarily of nonfiction. I've written 6 books, 1 traditionally published, 5 independently published, written a couple of novels, which will never see the light of day, and a couple more that are coming soon. And in my spare time, or my primary job, I'm a health coach and a habits coach, and happy to be here starting to coach some authors to do NaNoWriMo. I've done NaNoWriMo 3 times and succeeded each of those times. So I'm looking forward to number 4.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, my turn. I am Kevin Thompson. You might know me. There's a number of ways you might know me. You might know me as the Word Slinger from the Word Slinger podcast. If you're in the author community, you more likely know me as the Director of Marketing and Public Relations for Draft to Digital. But I'm kind of hoping a few of you at least know me as a best-selling and award-winning thriller author, the author of the Dan Kotler archaeological thrillers. That's the stuff it's always those things you want to be known for the most that are for the least. So there we are. Now, introduction. Now, I am, by the way, Roland, I am able to see Roger just joined us. We've got a couple more people, I think, creeping around. We didn't announce this, so if you're watching this live and you're wondering where everybody's at, go get a few friends, because the problem is last time we tried to do this, we had some technical difficulties, we'll say. So
that is true.
Here we are again, and we're going to give this a shot. What we had decided, really how this worked out, was we decided we would just record something to send to people just in case, because the last recording didn't work out. Audio was way out of sync. It may be out of sync now for all I know. And just technical glitches. So we decided we would just record something, and then we figured, well, what the heck, we'll just run it live. And if you happen to show up and ask a question, you are welcome to do so. So
let's just say it was good that we looked at the comments last time.
Yeah. That was a very good decision on our part. So, and if you're joining us, or if you're watching this in playback and you were one of the ones that couldn't hear anything, or whatever, thank you for being patient with us. So, I think we're getting this figured out, though. Okay, right. So first up, so we've done all the introductions and everything. Roland, since you've done Nano, what you said 3 times?
Correct.
Why don't you give us a little breakdown of what NaNoWriMo actually is?
So NaNoWriMo is a challenge to write a novel, which is 50,000 words. They classify that as a novel, in 1 month, the month of November, which is 30 days long. So 30 days to write a 50,000 word book, which is, if I do the math correctly, which is always a challenge, is 1,667 words, because you got to round up, right?
Right.
So I think if you actually do that many all 30 days, you'll end up with a couple of extra words, no extra charge.
Okay.
So a lot of people say, how can you possibly write a book that's any good in 30 days?
I was just going to say, how could you possibly write a book that's any good in just 30 days?
Well, you may not be able to write a book that's ready for publication within 30 days, especially on your first try, but you should have a pretty good story But best of all, you've accomplished something pretty big, which is being able to click, to type the end on a book.
Yeah. Which is that carries a lot of weight with it.
Yeah.
If you get to that point, that's a remarkable thing. Yeah. So some of you may remember, may have realized that I actually at one point wrote a book called 30-Day Author, which is where we're taking the title for this guy. And in that, I talked about a process. I gave you a formula. I gave you all kinds of stuff. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about today, in order to give you kind of a foundation for doing this. And at the end of this, by the way, everybody who's listening, whether you're listening live or not, you'll have a chance to go and download an infographic that will break down the whole formula for you. And in fact, I'm currently looking for that right now. It got lost in the shuffle, so I'm going to find it.
Are you looking for the infographic or for the link?
I have the link, but the actual infographic, I didn't pre-prep, so I'm going to get that together. I'm going to pull it together. We're going to get this going. Right.
So, Kevin, you've written multiple books in less than 30 days each, right?
Yeah. In fact, my first couple of books, the first 3 books I published took me 2 years each to write. And I decided that if I wanted to make a living doing this stuff, I needed to bump that number up a little. So I kind of sat down and figured out, like, what would it take? Now, I'd read Chris Beatty's book. Chris Beatty's the guy who founded NaNoWriMo. He had written a book called No Plot, No Problem. I read that book, and I was aware of NaNoWriMo, even though I hadn't participated in it. And I decided, it's possible then to do this. And I'm going to figure out my way, because that's how I have to do everything. I'll figure out my way of writing a book in 30 days or less. And that's really, I've done for a while there. I was doing that, knocking out a book every month. Now I've slowed down a little, just because, I like to write at a leisurely pace every now and then. You don't want to always write at breakneck pace unless you're trying to prove something to somebody.
Yeah, I think once the biggest value for me in learning in writing the first time in 30 days was just knowing that if I have the patience and the consistency, that I can do it. And whether I do the next book in 30 days or whether it takes me 60 days, at least I know I can do it.
Right.
And for a lot of genres, 50,000 is a fairly short book. So if you kind of think about, well, I'm gonna, it's like a novella for like epic fantasy, but
right.
For a romance, that's a pretty good sized novel.
Yeah.
And cozy mysteries can be 50,000. And but it's just a great way to prove to yourself that you can do it. Yeah. And if it's your first book, you may really be able to flesh that out into something that's really good in the month right after that.
I think 50,000 words is a pretty good starting point for most books. Like you said, epic fantasy is going to be much longer, much bigger. A lot of certain genres are going to need a lot more runway than 50,000 words. But for the most part, I took that number and ran with it, and now I tend to do books that are in the 80,000 word range. That seems to be the average for me now, and I'm still aiming for that 30-day marker. So there is a way to do that. And in fact, I found the graphic, so I'm going to use that as a reference.
Great.
So, in fact, I'm going to try something. Bear with me. I'm going to try something. And every time we try things and get fancy, that's when there's a risk of things going wrong. But
look at you.
Now, we should be able to see. Now, I don't know how much of this we're seeing. That the feed hasn't caught up for me yet. To see it live, but this is the infographic that you will get for free if you stick around to the end of the webinar. I'm happy to let you have it. So here is the breakdown of what I call the 30-day author formula. And I give you the math, okay? So it's TWT over TDC equals TDT. All right, so that breaks down to TWT is your total word target, TDC is your total days to completion, and TDT is your total daily target. So it is, like I say in this graphic, it's math, but it doesn't hurt. We're going to throw the
Is this going to be
50,000.
on the test?
This is on the test. And November is your test. So if you're participating in Nano, this is basically the formula you should use to figure out how many words you need to chunk down each day in order to complete your book before the end of the month. And this is giving you a 30-day ramp, so you can actually adjust your numbers any way you like and knock a book out in 15 days, or in one spectacular author's case, I'll allow myself to go unnamed. I knocked a book out in just one day at 60,000 words. So insanity, never doing it again, but it was done. So here's the way the formula works. If you look down the bottom of this graphic, you'll see what I mean. Let's take the 50,000 word target and the 30-day target. So if you divide 50,000 words by 30 days, it gives you really a much bigger number than what I'm showing here. It's like 1,666.6666666 to infinity. So we just rounded up to 1,667 words per day.
My math was right.
Your math was right. Congratulations. You've bested me in the math. Now, call it 1,700 words per day. You can this will knock out that 50,000 word target. But the magic of this is I'm going to grant that this is easier said than done. But the real magic of this is if you adjust any of the numbers in this formula, you can write a book in any number of days you want, or you can write a book of any length you want in whatever time frame. So if you made that, if you decided you're going to take the weekends off, then you take, on average, there's 2 weekends, 2 weekend days per week, and an average of 4 weeks. So take out 8 days from 30,000. I didn't prepare the number in advance, so let me do some math calculator here. So let's say you want to do that 50,000 words in just 28 days. Then that's 1,785 words. So basically another, 100 words per day.
Easy.
That's easy. Now, we know that that's not actually easy. So Roland, I wanted us to talk a little about, because now we've given them, these are the facts, right? This is just the cold, hard facts about how you could do this. And I know there's got to be folks out there who are maybe like, WTF, right? And by the way, everybody, I can totally see you in the Facebook group. And if you have questions, fire away. I'll happily answer them. And so will Roland. But Roland, what would you advise someone? How would you advise someone who says 1,600 to 1,700 words a day sounds kind of scary? How would I make myself do even that much per day?
Well, for most people, it's not the typing. So a lot of people think, well, I can't really type that fast. But you probably can type that fast. The issue usually is, can you tell the story to yourself? Can you tell the story to your fingers that fast? And the biggest issue for most people, including me, is self-editing, is watching, not necessarily just watching on the page, but watching and wanting to make corrections as I go. There's a time and a place for making corrections, and it's not during National Novel Writing Month. And for most people, it's not during the first draft.
Right.
Especially when you're trying to prove to yourself that you can write a book.
Yeah. That first time out, it's more about getting the thing completed. And the thing, my little catchphrase is write ugly, edit later. And the way this breaks down is I always tell people that if you try to edit while you write, it will exponentially increase the odds of you never finishing the book. It's just a fact of writer life. And so I love following what I stole something from Dean Wesley Smith. He wrote a fantastic book called Writing into the Dark. And I still don't know what his term is, Roland. You'd think I'd have picked it up by now. He has a
Does
term.
he have an official term for it?
He has
Because
an official
I
term
tried
for
to find it before we started and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I should look it up. I will try to find this, but I call
If
it
anyone in
looping.
the comments knows what it is, just to drop us a comment and we'll give you a free infographic as a way of thanking you.
Right. So yeah.
And
Way
a yay.
yeah, some thumbs up. An infamous Kevin Tomlinson no prize. So the way I would define it, so I call it looping. He calls it something else, very similar to looping, and I can't remember what it is. His process is he likes to write 500 words, and then he'll jump back and edit those 500 words, and then he'll use the momentum of that to keep writing his next 500 words. I do something very similar in that I write my daily word count, and the next day I edit that writing before starting my next word count for the day. So if your word count is 1,700 words per day, you would write your 1,700 words. Then the next day you would edit those 1,700 words and jump right into writing the next 1,700.
No, I think this is a great technique for not NaNoWriMo. Unless you're a full time, unless you're a full time or you have like a.
Well, it does take time. Yeah.
So like you are a full time writer, and
Right.
etc. Right, and so your goal to make your money is to write this book. So you can dedicate this time to write, dedicate the next day to edit. If you are doing this as a full time writer, then yeah, absolutely do that. But don't feel like this is necessary.
Yeah.
Because at least for this first book or two, show yourself that you can write a book. Give yourself permission to just get your story out on the digital paper.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think I wouldn't like make this a hard and fast rule for anybody ever. Not even if you're writing professionally. It's just that I know that there are some people who have a very hard time with creating something that is imperfect, that is imperfect, like that sentence. The problem is always going to be, you wear these different hats as a writer. You wear the writer hat, you wear the editor hat, you wear the marketing hat. You can only wear one hat at a time. So if you are writing, you need to make sure that's all you're focusing your energy on, especially during something like NaNoWriMo. If your goal is to write fast and finish something in a very short time frame, then you should forget about all the other functions of the writer life until that book is written. So if you cannot stand the idea of having something on the page that's not letter perfect, then my advice is set aside some time to do your editing before you start writing again. Otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't advise doing it.
So one question that I get periodically is, what do you do when you know you've written something and you've sort of written and you know that you're going to need to go back and fix something? You've kind of gone off the rails either with your outline or your story has deviated.
Yeah.
And I learned, this used to bug me. It's just like the self-editing thing. I used to feel like I have to go back, find that part of the chapter and fix that section before I could jump ahead back to present day writing and then continue. So, but to my friends Anna and Pascal, who are in my writing group, they've written a lot of books. And what they told me the other day was, stop doing that and have another little document or a note open. Right. And every time you're writing and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go back and fix something. somewhere else, open up that note, type the note to go do it, like that you're going to do it, and then come back to your writing. So that allows you to do two things. It gets it out of your head. Now you don't have to worry about forgetting, because that's the biggest thing for me is, oh, I'm going to forget that I have this thing here, this hook that needs to have something, bait set way back here. So that's really helped me a lot.
Every writing application, every word processor, Scrivener, Word, Google Docs, everything has like these comments and annotation features. So you could always just throw a comment in at that. I like to do it that way. If there's something I know I'm going to need to come back to and address, but I need to keep my momentum, I like to throw a comment or something. Some writers I know will actually do that in line. They'll just change the font or change the color or something and put a quick note directly in the paragraph. Something you can't miss.
I do that. I use brackets because this works in fiction, because there's no reason you should have a bracket in your novel, right?
That's true. That's very true.
So if you put a note in brackets, all you have to do is do a find. Go back and you're going to go to every one of those brackets and you're going to see where what you need to fix, the note yourself. And that works for a lot of things, like change this person's name to something that's not so stupid.
Yeah.
Or, like, oh, did you realize you were using a celebrity name here? Like maybe like give a non-celebrity name. So that way you don't have to go back later on or like right away and do a search and replace for, something awkward, Joe Stalin, to something less awkward.
Joe Stalin. Okay, so we got a couple of comments, not quite questions yet, but I did want to acknowledge everyone who's participating. So Stephanie Nickel says, so glad we can hear you both today. We are very glad you can hear us both today too, Stephanie.
Me too, yeah.
James Rassone says, as long as you're not sacrificing quality for quantity, this is good. There are all capped way. There are way too many authors who believe in the minimal viable product and hit publish. Okay, I want to clarify something on that, because I too am an author who believes in minimal viable product. But I think that most people misinterpret what that means. It doesn't mean throw whatever spaghetti you got in your bowl against the wall and see what sticks. It means create the very best possible product you can create before you hit publish. So according to your capabilities and resources. So minimal viable product is a concept that's borrowed from a variety of industries, but primarily in the writing world, strangely enough, it's from the software industry. But in my experience, the idea would be to create the thing that's going to meet the demands and needs and desires of your target market or audience, and get it to the highest quality you can get it before you release it. Some people, there's no way to justify pages and pages and pages of typos and errors. I have typos and errors in my books, so I get that that's going to happen. But I try very hard, and I pay a lot of money, and I got a lot of people helping me to try to get those things out of there as much as possible and get the book as clean as possible. So,
I think if you look at a book, if you write a book that ends up with a bunch of one-star reviews because there are plot holes, things don't make sense, then and you say, well, that was the minimal viable product, you misinterpreted what that meant.
Yeah,
because you put it out. That was not a minimal viable. That was not viable.
Right, it wasn't viable. Exactly right.
So you really have to look and see what is viable, and have some, especially in the beginning, have another set of eyes, or 2 or 3 professionals looking at this. To say this is viable. Go ahead and publish.
Yeah, exactly right. So James, that's a great point and a great comment, and that's definitely something you need to consider. But I wouldn't necessarily consider it for NaNoWriMo, because you can create utter trash in the process of NaNoWriMo and still win this competition. Just know that what you produce may not be viable. It may not be something you should put up for sale immediately. It needs a little more.
Could be the maximum, inviable product.
The maximum inviolable. So yeah. Yes, James says MVP and viable are certainly different for sure. He's right. Okay, so hopping over to the agenda. So we've given you the 30-day author formula. I hope you did that. Now we were going to talk about outlining versus pantsing. And this ought to be fun because I am a pantser all the way. So what I mean by pantser, by the way, is what some people, I think Stephen King actually refers to it this way, as being a discovery writer, or to just put it in the simplest terms, somebody who writes without an outline. That's me. 50 books in, I think I've outlined 2, and they were terrible. So it's not a process that I like, and frankly, I'll be honest, pantsing is the way to go if you are going to, well, no, okay, Roland's going to disagree with me on this, but I believe pantsing is the way to go for NaNoWriMo, but some people just can't do that. So, Roland, you are an outliner, right?
Yes, yes.
Give us the
And
perks.
well, I've done it both ways. One is that my creativity goes wild, right? And I will easily write myself into a corner, or end up with a book that I just didn't want. People talk about how their characters sort of take over for them, and now what am I going to do? My character, ran off on this adventure, and now that's like I have nothing to, I have to follow it. Well, you don't. You could, if you had an outline, you could, correct your character, delete those sections, or never have gone off into that area.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that when you make an outline, you have to have like every single chapter outlined, because things can happen in between. So there's different depths of an outline.
Yeah.
You could have, I know the beginning, I know the end, and here's a couple of key points that I need to hit throughout, right?
Yeah.
Or there's an infinite number of slices that you can take in between there and get to a very detailed outline where you know what everybody's doing in every scene, or you can just, like, for each scene could be from the 30,000 foot level.
Yeah. Yeah. I though I say I don't outline, and I don't. However, I've had conversations with a few folks, Nick Thacker and Ernie Dempsey, for example. We've talked about this. So I don't outline before I write the book, but mostly because every time I've tried outlining, I've ended up essentially just writing the book. And so I overdo the outlining. I put too much in. But I think the process is really kind of the same, meaning that I think I am outlining. I'm just outlining in long form. Because I go back and change things. This is one of the reasons I love to write in Scrivener. Scrivener allows me to basically produce a book non-linearly, meaning I can write all my scenes and decide, I'd prefer this scene to be in chapter 1 and that scene to be in chapter 15, and then I can move those around and tweak things as needed to make that work. So I think really my whole discovery writing thing comes from years of being a copywriter in the marketing and advertising world, and doing that freelance. I had, sometimes incredibly fast turnarounds on web copy and blog copy and things like that. I would have to do this content in an hour or two, sometimes less. So, you kind of learn to not have to depend on planning. So.
Well, Kevin, so you say you don't outline, but how much of it do you think is not outlined on paper, but sort of outlined in your head before you start?
So I kind of think it's a little bit like driving in the dark, right? You got your headlights on, you can see maybe 50 feet in front of you, and that's as much of the road as you're able to see, but you kind of know where you're going. And so as long as you can see the road in front of you, you're going to get there safe, right? So
do you know what your destination is in general?
More or less. I don't plan the ending at all. I know the general story I want to tell, but I actually do discover the story the same way the reader does. if things go off the rails, the technique that I use that gets me back on track is if I write myself into a corner. First of all, I love writing myself into a corner. I love writing myself to a point where I don't know how to get out of it. Because if I don't know how to get out of it, the reader's not going to know how I'm getting out of it, right? But then you get that tight feeling in your chest and the tingling in your arm. You fall on the ground. But you get that whole stressed feeling, and so
You
I
keep a
go back.
defibrillator handy in your
I
office?
do. Those one of those big needles. So what I do is I go. That's my opportunity to go back. That's what I call a big loop. I loop all the way back to the beginning. I read and edit and rewrite, and I let the story I've already written inspire where I'm going from there. And then sometimes I'll catch little things like, oh, if I just changed this little bit, this scene, if I just moved that or took that out, then when I get to this point, I can do X, Y, or Z. And so going back through that, it allows me to get my brain back into the story, to get back into the rhythm, and then I rocket ahead. So now, in terms of NaNoWriMo, I think you could still do something like that. If you find yourself at a point where you're stuck, you don't know what to do next, even if you're outlining and you don't know what to do next, because that happens.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, people get really hung up on their outline sometimes too. That's
yeah,
to the other extreme where like, oh, I thought of something better.
yeah.
But I have, that's going to ruin my whole outline.
I think if you are going to insist on outlining, and maybe you should, I'm not saying anything is bad about it, but if you are going to outline, maybe you should consider outlining in chunks instead of outlining the entire book at a time. Maybe you outline the first 3 chapters and maybe the last 3 chapters, and leave the middle a little bit open. Or just outline the last chapter so you know how it ends, if that's something you need. But I think especially if you need to write rapidly, not trying to do the entire book at once feels overwhelming. It's the same thing that happens. I talk to authors all the time about this sort of thing. Like, you get intimidated by the idea of, my God, I've got to write 60,000 words, 100,000 words, and then your tendency is to think of that as if you have to do it all right now. But the truth is, you've got 30 days. And if you're making pretty good progress each day, it's going to get done. So if you can kind of plan it in chunks, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So did we want to throw in any other tips or advice? Because we're a little over the 30 minutes that I had wanted us to do, but I'm willing to go over if we've got something else we want to throw in there.
The only thing I would say is, like, if you get stuck, so your goal is to write this. If you get stuck during the NaNoWriMo, don't be afraid to jump ahead to a scene that you need to write. Like, if you're, I don't know exactly where to go, but I know that in the finale, my characters are all going to be here and they're going to be driving towards this one goal. Don't be afraid to go out there and write that. I wrote recently, Kevin helped me through a little block that I had, and he suggested, just if you know what the ending is, just go write the ending. So, like, I didn't know what my finale was going to be, but I knew what the what do you call it when you come down, right? It's French,
Denouement.
denouement, right?
Yeah.
So I knew exactly what that was going to be. And so I went and I wrote that, and it was good, and it kind of gave me some clarification, and then I was able to come back and pick up and get that finale really going. So
yeah, there is nothing wrong with writing the parts that you do know for sure. In fact, if you're wanting to write rapidly, that's a godsend, because I've written things where, like, I knew I wanted this scene, I knew I wanted that scene. I didn't know how we got from scene A to scene B. So I just wrote those 2 scenes and then worked my way backwards. I reverse engineered it. I think I may have done that on an ending here or there, but for the most part, I don't know how a book's going to end until the last word. So don't go by me. I'm a horrible example of how you should write books. I do things my way, and that's just the way Kevin works.
I think Joanna Penn said on a podcast recently that she's a discovery writer as well.
Yeah.
And she believes that she does sort of know her outline subconsciously, right?
Right.
So whether you're outlining first or whether you're outlining sort of as you go, like somewhere in your mind, you know what a good story is. You know what the story is you're trying to tell. So just let yourself tell it.
Exactly right. Okay, so we're past the 30-minute mark. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank everybody. This was a completely unannounced. We're going to call it a pop-up webinar. We didn't plan. We did sort of plan to. We were just going to record something today to make up for the crappy webinar that just completely bombed last week, and then discovered we could do it this way. So we didn't announce it. So you being here means a lot to us.
I thought it was more fun. Not that just spending time with you isn't fun, but it's more fun.
I think it is more fun when you've got people, participate. This is such an amazing community that, people are having people join in it makes everything better. For those of you who are in the webinar right now, I'm going to copy a link. This is for getting your free infographic, and for the people listening, I'll read it out. There we go. You can go there, and you are going to be joining a list, but it'll allow you to. I'm going to pin this comment too. Cool. Okay, so this will allow you to get on the mailing list for 30-Day Author, so that if we have more webinars, which we plan to do more of these webinars, we plan to kind of pull some other stuff together. You know me, I'm trying to help authors as much as possible, and so is Roland. And we're going to be offering things like author coaching and consultations and all kinds of stuff in the future. So we just wanted to give you an opportunity to check in on that. If you go and sign up for that, you'll get the nifty graphic. In fact, I'll pop it up. No, I'm on the wrong screen. I'll pop it up again. You'll get this graphic. Of course, you could just screenshot it right now. But you'll get the actual infographic that gives you the formula and tells you how to work out your word count per day and get the time frame you want. So check that out. Also, Roland has his own Facebook group, and I'm going to give you the link to that. Oh, I didn't read it out loud, did I? So the link is bit.ly/30-day join, 30-day join, bit.ly/30-day join. So if you're listening or watching and you didn't get the stuff on screen, I'm going to figure out how to do an on-screen thing. I've already figured out one way to do it, Roland. We're gonna have this. It's going to take a little bit of prep work, but we're going to have this all.
You're the best, Kevin.
So I'm going to also drop into the comments a link to Roland's Facebook group. Actually, this will get you there. It's rolanddenzel.com/author group. And I don't know if it matters that things are capitalized,
No.
but okay. So rolanddenzel.com/author group. If you want to participate in NaNoWriMo alongside of Roland, I went ahead and tried to join the group. He hasn't approved me yet.
What?
Maybe I won't get in. I'm not sure. I'm not welcome in most places. But if you're
putting pants on.
Pants. I scoff and laugh at your pants. But if you go check that out, jump into that group, you'll be supported in your efforts to do NaNoWriMo. And one last thing, just because I've mentioned it, you do not have to buy it. You got the bulk of what this book talks about, but just in case you wanted to check it out, my book, 30-Day Author, is available at this link I just shared in the chat. And it is books to read, books, the number 2, read.com/30-day. So books-to-read.com bit.ly/30-day. And you can pick that up at any online retailer. So that is it. Roland, did you want to throw anything else in before we sign off?
No, I'm going to be, well, I mean, I say no and then I say yes. So yes, I'm going to be doing NaNoWriMo this November. And if anyone wants to join me, I'd love to see you in the group. There's also I can go over and send you guys the links in the group to the NaNoWriMo website. Everything over there is free. They're a nonprofit. It's a great organization. And I do sign up over there, but then I don't really go and I don't want to get sucked into a whole other thing. I just want to write. So I'm going to be doing it in my group, and I'll be checking in with the NaNoWriMo website periodically, because you get cool things. Like at the end, you can get fun T-shirts and badges and all sorts of things that are NaNoWriMo related, and that's a lot of fun.
I'm going to confess that I've never participated because I already write a book in 30 days. So
well, then just do it.
I should just do it.
Just sign up today.
It's kind of like cheating, though. It's kind of like it's kind of like when they decided to allow NBA players play basketball in the Olympics. It just feels like cheating.
Okay, but let me say this. So even though they called it the winning NaNoWriMo, the only thing that you are the winner, right? There's no competition. Everybody can win.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I know.
And it's like you're not ranked, although like. You'd be the 16th place ribbon if you could.
That's 16th place ribbon. All right.
Okay, they went down that far, did they?
No, they do now. I want to thank everybody who participated, and I appreciate you stopping by. We're going to be doing more of these, so if you are interested, make sure you check it out. Join at bit.ly/30-day join, and you'll get on the mailing list. You'll get the freebie. And you'll know when we do more stuff later. So that's it. We hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and see you in the group.